Welcome, your saltwater guide, Captain Dave Hansen. I got my good buddy Michael Folks joining me, as always, on Tuesdays as my co-host. And today we have a super special guest, Michael Wayne McGowan. And we've got some unbelievable history between Michael Wayne McGowan and Michael Folks. We're going to be talking lures. We're going to be talking surface irons. We're going to be talking World War II. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. But before we get started, it's Promar Ahi USA Tuesday. We always talk about some cool Promar products. Oh, I forgot to also, my co-host Marley's right with me today. He wants to be a part of the show, so he'll be hanging out on my shoulder all day. His name is Marley. He's a marmoset monkey, the smallest monkey in the world. He's about 8 inches tall, full grown. He's 5 years old. Those of you that have never seen the show before, now you know. And a little bit later in the show, we'll show you some phenomenal Promar products. But just to start off with, we announced this yesterday. We got the Rockfish Rumble through Promar. And if you want to win the $200 worth of product, and we're going to give this away every month from now until June, every month we're going to give away $200 worth of product. And all you have to do is hashtag Promar25 on either your Instagram or your Facebook. And then if you tag your saltwater guide, so you're going to hashtag Promar25 and then you're going to tag your saltwater guide, and that'll get you entered into the contest to win the $200 worth of Promar products. If you look there, there's some GT4 fluorocarbon, there's a nice hat, there's a nice sweatshirt. You're going to get some of the rock cod squirts, you're going to get some of the Akara jigs. There's just a plethora of cool stuff you're going to get, and all you got to do, it's free. Just hashtag Promar25 and tag your saltwater guide on your post on Facebook or Instagram, and that'll get you entered in. We did the same thing for the lobster. It was ambush the season, and your saltwater guide members won five out of the 6 contests your saltwater guide members won. So this one's exclusively for your saltwater guide members. So go get them. Hashtag Promar25, picture of your rockfish with the rock cod squirt hanging out of their mouth, and tag your saltwater guide. You can't go wrong. And then, Michael, you got a big event coming up in a couple days.
We do. We're doing a big event over at the Bass Pro Shops with CCA.
So yeah, what time in the Bass Pro Shop in Irvine, California? What time does that thing start?
It starts at 5. And it runs through, I think, till 8. And it's open. I got beer, wine, food. It's going to be a really fun. Bass Pro Shops does it really well. They clear out a whole section of their boats and put in all the chairs. And it's going to be basically a podcast format where we're going to be doing it live in front of a pretty big audience, I think, on Thursday evening.
Yeah, you got you and Benji Kim, surf fishing guru Benji, going to be on there. That's going to be fun. The two of you guys talking old school and new school fishing techniques and the history of sport fishing. Guy, show up at the Irvine Bass Pro Shops. You will not be disappointed. Like Michael said, they do it up right. It's first class. You're going to be showing a great night, and it's all going to be for benefiting CCA. Yep. And we got to talk about CCA, gang, because we're coming up 16th and 17th. They're the amount of stuff on the agenda, and I'll throw the QR code up there. The Fish and Game Commission, they threw, Michael, you can't even believe it, how much stuff they've thrown on the agenda for this 2-day conference. And, they snuck the sand bass in there. It's in there. If you pull back the covers a little bit and look, the sand bass is in there. They want to close your neighborhood. There's a tiny little sliver of Laguna open, and they're losing their minds about that. They want to close salmon. They want to try to rebuild the kelp without harvesting the sea. There's just closed salmon again. There's so much stuff, gang. And when you get down to the end, they just don't want us fishing anymore.
That's the bottom line. That's the bottom line.
It's all about control. So we all need to show up to that meeting on the 16th and 17th. The QR code's up on the screen there. And you know me, I'm going to talk about it till the day of the meeting. But that's enough politics. That's enough everything. Let's get into this fishing thing. And the original Mac lure, Unbelievable lure, great surface iron. I'm looking at all the different colors and everything. But Michael, let's talk about how your grandfather decided to get into the lure business. I mean, you and I and Michael were just talking, 100 companies were making lures at the end of World War II.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy finding that out because I'm hearing the history somewhat through my father still. But yeah, my grandfather said he was in World War II. He was a B-24 pilot and bombardier. And when he came back, he was looking for something to do. He really loved fishing. He knew that's something he had a passion for. So he decided he was going to make his own lures and basically took a piece of wood and he went down to Colorado Lagoon in Long Beach and just tied a string to it and walked across the bridge until he found the kind of shape he wanted. He kept playing with it and whittling it down till he figured out the swimming action he wanted. And that turned out to be the Mac. He turned that into a sandcast mold. And from there, that was in 52. And then in 1953, they opened up Mac's Outlet, which was the tackle shop that the locals down there end up calling it Mac's Tackle after a short period. But yeah, that was my grandmother and grandfather right there in the shop, that picture from when they opened the store back in 1952.
That's so cool, Mike. Is that on PCH right there?
Yes, correct.
Very cool.
619 East PCH. The building's still there, but it's turned into something else. But we actually went down there and could actually see where the storefront was. But yeah, it's pretty cool. It's very interesting.
Really cool. I love it. I love that picture of your grandfather and is that his wife?
Yes, that's my grandmother, Charlene. And basically when he did that, I found out through my dad talking to him, it wasn't just like a tackle shop. He was kind of like REI before there was an REI. It was camping, fishing, and all this other stuff that you could do at that store. And my grandmother actually, she was a rod wrapper. She did custom rods at the shop. And I was like,
Did she really?
Yes. So they were all involved in everything.
That is so cool. You got to be so proud. I'm so stoked you're sort of revitalizing the whole brand, aren't you?
Yeah, for sure. It's like in 2018, my dad moved from Orange County to Oklahoma, and he brought all the molds. I mean, there was like 1,000 jigs and probably a dozen molds, and just said, hey, you know what? I'm over this now. If you want to do something with it, it's up to you. And I thought about it for a few years until this last year. I finally said, you know what? Let's just see if there's an interest. Let's try to find out if we can do it. And through my dad's help and actually Jerry at JRI Lures, he came to our house, talked to my dad, met him. They talked for a long time about, surface iron and jigs and the whole history of stuff, and just had a proposal that, hey, you know what? You've got the molds. We just need someone to help produce them. So we're going through actually their foundry, and it's made it so much easier because it was like one guy. It's hard to do it as a one-man shop to do everything.
That's insane.
But now to have the production being done and all I have to do is place some orders and we get them back to us, we can load them up on the site and we can move them out, and it makes it a lot easier.
Oh, it's so cool.
And the whole history too, it brings back memories from my father too, because he was a little kid. He'd had to come straight from elementary school, run back, get to the shop, because that's how they made their living for their family, was the tackle shop. He was in the back ringing them. I mean, he was painting them, doing the hooks. He had to do everything. So
was he, did he have a little spray gun? Was he spraying them? Do you know?
Yeah, back then, that's what it pretty much was. Yeah.
Little, just no EPA standards, nothing, just rock and roll.
Yeah, the good old days, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
You weren't wearing a mask. You got a little bit of that, that spray high, I guess.
Yep.
But yeah.
That sand molding is unbelievable. It's sand casting.
Mm-hmm.
The way I got connected with you, Michael McGowan, was when I had Scott on here and we were doing the history of surface iron.
Yeah.
He turned me on to you, and then you sent me some lures. I have some lures right here. I'll show the guys in a minute, but just the history of this. And Michael, folks, you have a whole thing on the history of sport fishing, Michael's 12-part docuseries. There's a lot of stuff in there. I mean, Elliot shared some of the old sand molds that you have, and
YouTube.
What do they call that Christmas tree that you guys posted on YouTube? That the lures, Michael, that thing was pretty spectacular. Look at how they did
Mike
that.
would probably know better than I do, but the tree is where they attached all the lures to one mold, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there'd be like 6 or 8 jigs coming off the tree.
Mm-hmm. For sure. It's where they can pour it into the gates. Like,
Right.
I still have some of the other ones here that when we came back, they made 19 total jigs over the years from 52 all the way up until the late 90s. And when we came back, I just wanted to try to do a few of the ones, like there's like 7 that we came back with. I didn't want to try to overload everybody because right now the whole thing with us, it's the older people like my dad's age, they're either his friends have passed, in their 70s and 80s, they know of them. And then you have people in my age, probably in the 50s, that know some of them, but the younger generation doesn't know anything more than Taddy, Salas, and all the CNC stuff now. There's so many companies, to me, it's interesting, and it's also cool that there's so many companies out there. There's a lot of competition, but for me, it's not a competition or anything. It's more of I just want to get the history back out of there for us.
Right on.
Because we were in there in the 50s, and we came back in the 80s for a bit, and then we left. Now for me to bring them back, I just want to fill that gap so people can actually know who we are, what we were, and where we came from.
I think that's so cool what you're doing. I love it.
And that color right there, that is money. Everybody wants the mint. And if you feel this and you hold this in your hand, you just go, oh, yeah, this thing's going to get bit. They're going to jump up and eat this thing before it even hits the water. The whole idea of the surface iron, what your grandfather did, dragging that piece of wood through the water over the bridge, that's kind of the only way you can figure out if these things are going to swim the right way, right?
Yeah. And it's cool because when we did a run-in with Jerry, and he brought him to our house when my dad met him, and I let my dad see him and feel him, and he was like, you know what, these are as good or better than anything we've ever made back in the day, and probably even better. Like, he was so impressed with them. And right after that, we were on our way to Cedros, and that's all we used. There was no bait. We just used our jigs. My sons are, they're in their 20s, and they basically, the first time they got to use them was with their grandfather, and they were kind of blown away that here's this guy almost 80 who's out fishing all of us just from technique and the strength and stuff. But it was cool to have them see him, who actually created them, use them and show us how to do stuff. I just told them, wherever he casts, you cast, because he knows what's going on.
That gives me chills just hearing that story of your kids getting to see their grandfather who actually built the lures. I just love it. It's such a connection.
It is. And it was just, to me, it's in a moment because, as you get older, you want to spend time with your family, and it's, we only have so much time to enjoy stuff and do this, and to see him do it. Now we've already done Cedros the last 2 years. We already got it booked up to go to San Gatin and actually fish with some of his friends he hasn't seen in probably close to 40 years.
Dan, the whole thing with the kid, taking your boys fishing with grandpa and all that stuff, Michael Folks and I talk about this every Tuesday, how important it is to make sure that you get children into this thing. And there's a lot of young people that watch our podcast every day because we never cuss, and it's kind of a G-rated podcast, so we don't
wish
any unless Michael gets too excited.
But it slip.
Yeah. But this whole thing, watching the evolution of the lures, I want you and Mr. Michael Folks to talk about, why do you guys think there was 1,000 or 100 different manufacturers making lures after World War II? What was the draw? What do you think that was?
Well, following the Second World War, and we got rid of the food rationings, and companies were able to start manufacturing recreational product again instead of war stuff. And there was a lot of leisure time. And these people like your grandfather came back from the war, didn't know what he wanted to do. I mean, he was probably 20 years old, 19, 20, 21 years old, had no clue what he wanted to do. And fishing was really just coming into its own in the late 40s. I mean, that was the golden age of sport fishing, specifically in Southern California, as well as across the rest of the country. But fishing just exploded in the late 40s after the war and into the 50s. I think in Newport at one point there was, don't quote me on this, but I think there was like 28 different landings in Newport Beach, 28 different sport boat landings in Newport in the late 40s and early 50s. So very popular sport.
Yeah.
And surface iron for us was the cat's meow. I mean, you're getting your barracuda, your bass, your bonita, your halibut, all that stuff on surface irons. They'd come up and eat them off the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So bonita, it was a phenomenal time. Local fisheries were off the charts in terms of the kelp population and a number of fish in our local waters. So I think the popularity of fishing exploded in the 40s, and that's part of the reason why I think there were so many companies stepping up and building surface irons, because every one of those jigs is different, right, Mike? I mean, every jig that comes out of a sand mold is different.
Yeah, there's even like each one on the plate, there'll be a little bit different. I mean, I don't know him as well as my father does, but he'll walk over to the rack we have over here, and he can just tell you which one's going to work better than the other one by just feeling it, looking at it. There's certain ones on the molds that we have. He'll make sure when we go on a trip that he'll pick out what he's going to use, and he'll set aside, like, you can have these ones. But yeah.
Is that basically on the, I don't know what you call it, as the kicker, what causes that to happen? Why?
The hips, the off-center, they're off-centered hips, and just sometimes where the eye hole is, where if it's farther or closer, it has a shorter pattern or a longer pattern when it does it. And when they're a sand cast, it's not as pure as say the CNC ones that are going to be perfect every time, but that's $50 a jig. That's kind of a lot. I can't see myself doing that, but there's a lot of guys that do it, and I'm glad that people are actually out there doing them and doing their own thing. I've only fished our stuff. I've had other stuff, and I've just never used it because I just wanted to use what we've made over the years. I mean, I've had people give me stuff, and I'm like, thank you, but I kind of just want to steal. I feel almost be guilty of my grandfather up there be mad at me for using somebody else's stuff.
You're throwing somebody else's baits.
Yeah, and just like when I go on a boat, I can't use bait because people will be saying, why are you using bait? You're a jig company. You got to use jigs all the time, which I'd rather fish jigs anyways. I mean, anybody can put a hook in a sardine and throw it over and probably get bit, but it's just a technique of knowing when and what to do and, slowing it down, speeding it up, check the current, everything. There's a lot of little things that go to it that other than just get out there and chuck it and wind as fast as you can.
It's just the opposite almost. It's very, very finesse fishing.
It is. And it feels cool that you actually able to do it. It's something you produced and it comes from you and you actually did it and it's yours and you caught something. That was the best part with my sons, because they actually, I let them, before we did some stuff, paint some things up and do some for them. And they actually made a couple of them and they actually used them and caught stuff. And that's pretty cool, that whole process of it.
Yep. So what do you think? What do you think causes a jig to get bit above and beyond? And like your dad would say, okay, these are mine. You guys can have the rest. What's he looking for? Do you know what he's feeling for?
I think it's with him. It's basically the hips, the sharp edges. Some of the ones he'll check sometimes it's an off-centered hole, but some other times if it's closer to the top, it'll swim a little bit different. It'll have a different kick to it as far as it won't be as radically slower. He can just pick them out, and I mean, it works. I mean, he was making them at 6, 7 years old in the back of the shop, so he kind of has an idea of really what's going to be something.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes people always said it could be color, but if it swims, it's going to get eaten. I mean, half the time, if it's a good jig, the paint's going to be gone after a while.
Exactly. You look at a guy's tackle box, you want the jigs that are the most screwed up and no paint left. Those are the ones that are getting bit.
Teeth marks all over them.
Yep.
Yeah, like we always say, those are the ones they know what they taste like. They know.
Keep coming back for more.
We did that jig chuckers ball a few years ago down in Mission Bay and on the San Diego with Booger, and it just, I mean, these guys, these surface iron guys, old school, they had some boxes that they were sacred to them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they had a handful of jigs that were just beat to death. I mean, there was hardly any paint left on them, but they're all tooth marked. And these are the best jigs in the world right here. And
some will have rusty hooks. And they don't want to change the hooks. They don't want to touch it because they're afraid something's going to change the whole outcome of how it works. But
I mean, go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
Even back to the whole putting the paint on it. It's been in that book of Scott's and stuff that's been said, and that we were one of the first ones to ever put some paint on them. My grandfather went out on a boat one day, and he actually brought out a green and yellow and a blue and white he painted. And he was on the boat, and when he pulled them out, the guys on the boat said, "Mac, what are you doing? why would you even do that? It's not going to work. And from what my dad told me from stuff, he went 14 for 14 with yellowtail.
I was going
And
to say,
after that, people are like, well, maybe I should get that. And being the smart guy he is, and he had the tackle shop, he had some on him and he ended up selling everything he had on the boat with him. But then it got that interest too. Like, hey, he was one of the first to try it. He always thought, if you look at the jigs, like I've got one like right here, like if you see on the sides when it's coming across, it looks like a white belly of the fish, and that looks like the dark parts of it.
Right.
So he basically thought it looked like a sardine or something swimming by, and it worked, and people bought them. I mean, it's like anything. If you're on a boat and somebody's catching and you're not, you want what that person's using, whatever it might be, the color or whatever it is.
Fluorocarbon, whatever's making the difference.
Yeah.
A lot of it's in the retrieve too, isn't it, Mike?
Yeah, like some of the jigs that we have, even one of them that we have from 1952, that Mac, was created with the slower reels, like the Jig Masters and stuff like that. The retrievals aren't what they are, like the 6-to-1s now.
No.
Some people will cast that out and wind it fast, and you don't actually let the jig work for you. You got to slow it down and let the jig actually work, because some of those things were made, way back when the stuff wasn't, the technology for some of the reels weren't that way.
Like
but we do have
back in the day, that was a fast retrieve.
Yeah. So now everything's like so fast. Now sometimes you just got to slow it down. People want to get out there and just wind as fast as they can, and you're not even letting the jig actually do anything. Sometimes they can't swim if you're going
too fast.
Yeah, exactly. The excitement is you got to, even when you get excited, slow it down. But I mean, for any of us, it's kind of hard when your heart's going and you're getting excited. Everybody's catching something, to actually take a deep breath and calm down. It's kind of tough to do.
Yeah, but you get that pattern moving and then it kicks. Sometimes it's that little,
yeah,
the hips move and the thing just reacts to it. It's got to be consistent too on the retrieve, I think, don't you, Mike?
Yeah, and then sometimes, like my dad always told me, sometimes you got to adjust your speed here and there and see what works best. What actually, once you get bit, and sometimes you are going faster, sometimes you are going a little bit slower, but it's once you find that right spot, then you kind of hit it, stick to it.
There's nothing like that bite, is there?
Oh God, it's hard to describe, because most people, when they do it, your reaction is to just swing back as hard as you can. You got to wind through it, because basically
point and crank.
Yeah, because the fish is coming across, like he's actually biting on this part. And if you wind through, it goes in. So if you jerk, you don't get it. And anybody, when you get bit on something, you automatically want to just pull as hard as you can.
That's the hook, yep.
And that's why I try to tell some of the other people that have gone with us, just keep winding. And then you can set the hook a little bit later, but you're going to get it pretty much when you're just winding through.
Yep.
Yeah. So
when you get stopped by something, there's nothing like it. When you're just whining, you get that first hit and you can't even reel hardly.
It's just, everything just stops.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that more in just a second. Hold on, guys. I got to do a tiny bit of business and we'll get right back to this.
Gotcha.
I don't know if you've been paying attention to our
important
website, yoursaltwaterguide.com, but if you go and you look through the community section and look at all the pictures of all the great rockfish that Justin's catching with all of his clients and all the members are using, they're using these rock cod squirts, gang. These rock cod squirts are a game changer when you're fishing those rockfish. These things are already pre-rigged, ready to go. All you got to do is take them out of the package, you hook your sinker onto the already pre-tied swivel, and then you hook your main line, your piece of braid, right to the other swivel on the other end, and you have two pre-made hooks that already have squid lures on them, and these look just like the red crabs that these rock cod have been feeding on for the last 5 or 6 years out here in Southern California. These things are deadly. They work great. They also make them in a glow-in-the-dark white color. I like the pink ones the best. That seems to work the best for me, but you're gonna go with whatever you prefer. But these are the rock cod squirts.
Put in the code YSWG and save 10% on your order. If you put in the code YSWG or you use the QR code that's on the screen right there, you're going to save. It said 10%. No, now it's 15 because Promar stepped it up because you guys have been doing such a great job. And then if you post a picture with that lure, that rock cod squirt hanging out of your rock cod's mouth, you got a chance to win $200 worth of products from Promar. The rock cod squirts are a go-to for sure, for sure. If you go to our website, you'll see so many people catching so many rockfish on them. When you grab that QR code at the bottom of the screen, when you're on the website, you'll be blown away by the plethora of products that you're using on a daily basis that you don't even know are Promar products, from bait scoops to squid transfer scoops to sabiki rods, just so much product. Go over to Promar, check it all out. The ghost shrimp pumps that Al uses all the time, just check it out. The QR code's right there, or put in the code YSWG as you're checking out. If you're listening to us while you're driving, you don't need the QR code, but grab that and do it and use it and have a good time. And back to what you were talking about as far as winding, I have a whole series on my website about how to properly fish the iron. And like you were saying, Mike McGowan, the biggest problem I see people doing is when that fish comes up, like you said, it grabs it in the middle. We call it dog boning. Grossbeck and Lasley told me that. They go, they're dog boning. Stop swinging. Because when it dog bones, when it grabs that lure and you swing, you just jerk it right out of their mouth. But if you do what McGowan said and you wind, you drag all three of those hooks right into the fish's face. And that's the whole thing was when you're fishing. The hardest thing I've seen people that just start to fish with lures is they swing every time they get a bite. You're just going, oh my gosh. And you'll see 10, 12 yellows behind especially down at Cedros. You'll see those yellows and they're all just like a pack of dogs chasing that lure. And every time they jerk. And if you watch careful when they jerk, all those yellows go.
They scatter.
They stop. They go, what just happened?
Yep.
And then you start winding again, and then they all come back to Wolfpack on the thing, and then you jerk again. So I couldn't have said it better myself. Keep winding. Turn the handle. And like Michael Folks was saying, all of a sudden the rod will load up. When the rod loads up, that's when you see the guys like McGowan and Folks and the Jig Chucker Ball with Danny Wade and all the guys. That's when they lift the rod and put the bend in it. But you don't see them set the hook.
No.
It's not like largemouth bass where they're trying to break the rod.
Yeah.
Talk about that. You just did a trip with your kids and your dad down at Cedros last year, right, McGowan?
Yeah, we did it the last 2 years. I did 2 years ago, I took my sons with us. And then this last year I took my nephew, and he's never fished them at all either. He never even caught a yellowtail. And so we got there, and the first time, even with my sons, when they first hooked one, the words out of their mouth wouldn't be on your podcast that they were first using. But yeah, it was just funny to see somebody who's never done it before. You can tell them it fights hard, it's going to pull, and they're like, yeah, whatever. But once you do it, they turn around, they look at you, and they're like, what the hell is that?
What was that?
They loved it. They wanted to keep going, but it was just like, I go, a couple of these, you need a break. I mean, they'll wear you out. But my dad was over there like, no, I don't need a break. I'm going to keep going.
That's so cool. Hey, Mike, can you tell me a little bit about, and I'm just curious personally, like I grew up fishing Newport when I was like 7, 8, 9, 10 years old in the late 50s. Our go-to jig was a bone jig. And was there, do you know any of the history or the differences between a traditional bone jig and what the jigs that your dad and your grandfather started building and that you're doing now?
I had some when my dad dropped them off, some of the bone ones, but the bone ones, they look more like they didn't have the shape, I think, so much as the
they don't have the kick, that's for sure.
Yeah, they were more of almost like a trolling type thing, almost, I believe, more of, and that's how they would use them. But they didn't have that same kick and swim and stuff, I think, like these do. But yeah, I've never fished those. I had some as a collecting and kept them around here, but I was afraid to throw something that old and like maybe possibly lose it. So
yeah,
it's more or less hang on to it.
I'm hoarding my bone jigs too.
Yeah. And that's kind of with us when we came back. There's people that are saying, why are you fishing with some of those older jigs? Are you afraid to lose them? I said, I've never been afraid to lose them. I go, the ones we had, I've never been a collector of really anything. I've told people, if you want to collect them, that's a different section. You can collect them, do all that stuff. I go, I've only wanted to fish them. I go, that's why we made these ones now. I told people, you can keep and collect those old ones. Now these ones are made to kill fish. I go, go out and use these and collect the older stuff if you want to. But I just wanted people to get out and start using them.
Yep.
Especially when my dad dropped them off, they were here in the garage at my shop. I go, they're just collecting dust. I had to get them out to people. So I got them like how I gave some to Dave, and I had to get them to some of the captains out there to try and use them. And that's how we got, good feedback, was by getting them to people's hands that actually use them. Because, I mean, you can just give them to somebody who doesn't fish a lot. They're not going to give you the same response you want from a captain. I mean, those guys know what they're using. They're going to tell people what they're going to use. And people go on the boat, they look up to those guys, and they're the ones that actually know what's going on because they're out there all the time.
Absolutely. They're the pinnacle of the game.
Yeah.
So now that we've touched on the history of this whole lure company that your grandfather started, now try to explain to Michael Folks and I why you have a full-time job. You've raised a couple of very good young men and you're doing your thing. What made you decide that I need to bring back grandpa's stuff? I need to bring back dad's lures. Why did you get back into the manufacturing of lures? What was it?
Like I said, back in 2018, when he dropped it off, it was like, it's either with you or it dies with you. And I'm like, it took me a little while to figure out and get the time to try to do it. And on my side, when I had a little extra time, mess with them a little bit, try to get them to the right thing. And we've been gone for so long, I didn't want to just rush them back and just throw them out there to throw them out there. We wanted to make sure we tested some of the ones and actually brought back the ones we know that really work, and just give it a shot and see if there was an interest. If there wasn't, then I'd know, hey, at least we gave it a shot. But now that we know there is an interest and people have been following us and purchasing them and using them, I mean, the best thing for me is when I get a picture sent back to me when somebody uses something that we produce and they have a huge smile on their face, that's worth every penny that I could ever put into it. That's what I want to see. I mean, anything just to see people get out there and have a good time. I want them to do that. And plus to give them an extra thing to put in their tackle box, try it. If it doesn't work for you, you know what, at least you went and tried. And that's the whole thing with us. If I didn't bring him back, I mean, it would be hard just to not do it. And Scott's book was huge for me because I've always had to tell people kind of the story. Right. Now, when it's in that book, it's got pictures. It's got the story. It's written in there, why we were gone. And it's helped out a lot just to, when I go to the shows or something, to talk to somebody, show them the book. And it just kind of speaks for itself. I mean, people see a picture. It's a lot easier than just trying to tell them a story when they can see it in their hands. So, yeah, I just wanted to try to give it a shot and see. I figured the history when we were there before, we were, from my dad said, a really big thing back in the 50s. And we kind of went away just to get that whole, fill in that gap to let people know that, hey, we were one of the ones. We were like
one of the first.
Yeah, we came out in 52. Salas came out in 58. Taddy came out in 64. So it's hard for people to think that year before them. Yeah, we were. But, now that they can actually see it. And it's been cool being around Scott because Scott's really tight with Joey, with Taddy. And they've been really nothing but nice to me when I've gone to the show. I talked to them. It's been a cool response just to see that, there is an interest, and the people that have come around me have been really nice. And I've made just in this last year, a lot of different connections, more friends. It's been really cool just to get it out there again, to get the name out again and just go from there.
Yeah, it's family tradition. I love it. It's 3 generations.
I mean, my granddaughter's 3 and she comes out here and wants to be with me out in the shop. She's like, I want to be with Papa. I got her a shirt so she could wear when she's out here. The only problem was I had to get her a pink one because she didn't want a black one. But yeah, she knows to help me, and she knows she's been over here and helped me print the labels out, go to the post office, which is cool to see. I mean, she's 3, but I already got to get her a pink fishing pole, I was told. So we're going to start trying to get her to do that sometime. But it's just cool to see, the interest. I mean, my sons are wearing their stuff around. I got my dad on our trip a shirt, a hoodie, a windbreaker, a hat, and they tell me he wears that all the time. And it's in Oklahoma, but hey, it's advertising, I guess, if you think of it like that. But it's cool. I mean, it's been fun. It's going to give me something to do in the next few years when I can retire and actually have some more time to do it. But right now, it's fun. I've had a great time doing it.
Are you selling direct, Mike, or do you need to go to a shop to get them?
Right now, it's just direct through the website. I've had some talks with some tackle shops and stuff, and we're going to try to work something out with that too. It's just, you run into the thing now where there's not a lot of room on jig walls because there's so many companies, and I get that. I mean, the best way to get in there possibly is just people using word of mouth, people trying to go in there and how do I get these? Because with anything, I think it's a lot easier if you walk into a tackle shop and you can see the jig and feel it instead of you buy it online, you get it home, you're like, okay, well, it's different when you can actually touch it and feel it. We all like that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
So that's the end. The goal would be to get into some of those. I mean, talking to my dad, we were in H&M back in '53, and I went down there and talked to those guys, and nobody down there is still around from there, but they were pretty impressed that was something that you guys were actually down there. So yeah, it's hopefully you can get into some of those. I've talked to people, got good connections. So I haven't been in a rush to try to like push it or do anything. It's been when I got some time with it, and I didn't want to ever try to take on too much to start with and see where it goes.
Baby steps.
Yeah. And it's been that way. And it's been, the baby steps have gotten to be bigger steps, but it's been fun that way.
Well, and you're doing the right thing by putting it in the hands of the guys that are doing it. You give it to Booger and those guys down there that are fishing it all the time. Mm-hmm. And everybody in the boat's going to look, Booger, what are you fishing? I've got this new Mac lure that's, it's one of the first lure companies ever.
Yeah.
And they're revitalizing their company. So it's a very similar bait to what's already out there, but I'm loving them. So it's I think you're doing the right thing.
And one of the ones we came back is, like I said, my grandfather was Mac. That was his nickname, but it's all people ever called him. That's why he named the jig that. And then my dad has the same name, Wayne J. McGowan, so he's Mac Jr. And they brought him back at different times. And now that I've done it, we had another mold that we had in the round that we hadn't produced. So we just decided to try that one, see what it does. Gave it out to people to test and came back with really good feedback on it. So we decided that's right now, after we've used it, it's probably one of our best ones. But we Roman numeral at Mac the third being for me. So we have Mac Jr., then me, the third coming of it, basically. So that's kind of where we put that into it to try to get thing kind of rolling. And like, here's a new one we have, because all the other ones were last one was done like in the 90s. So now we actually had one from 2024 to try to open it and try to do that different, my grandfather to my dad to me kind of thing. So that's kind of an homage to him too. I was trying to make something like, to them too.
What, are you stamping them, Mike?
They are stamped into the molds.
Right.
So they're already in that. Yeah. But
cool.
Like even the atomic worm back in the day, my dad said he had to hand stamp that. And he had to spell it out like ATO, they stamp it and do it as a kid. So finally we had the same mold, the original atomic worm mold. We just did Mac AW to try to shorten it out and make it easier, because you try to line those up and they're never perfect. They're always off a little bit. So now when it's in the mold, it's a lot easier.
Perfect.
It's faster for them to do it and produce it instead of doing all that stamping.
Trying to do it afterwards.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So we got a handful of questions here. We're kind of going to go over a little bit. Brian wants to know, of all the different lures that your grandpa and you and your dad have put together, which one reminds you the most when you look at it? You just go, Grandpa.
The Big Mac, I think, because that's probably it's still one of the first ones they made, but it's just so much bigger than that. And he was Mac. And to me, I always thought of him as this big, he's your grandfather. You think he's this big person and can do anything.
Bigger than life.
So that's kind of how I think of that when I see it. And I go from there. But yeah, definitely. And
then there's a question that I get asked a lot, and I'd love to hear what the two of you think of this. As far as fishing with these surface irons or the yo-yo irons that you make, are you going to put fluoro connection or are you going to put mono? Michael Fulks first.
I'm fishing floral.
All right. And then Mac, what are you fishing?
I've just done straight mono. I've never used the floral form, but I know some people do. That's their choice of doing it. But yeah, I don't think you're going to go wrong either way. I mean, you go with what you think is going to work best.
Yeah, some guys like that mono. They think it's like a shock absorber. I like the softer tip rod, so that's my shock absorber. I like to use the fluorocarbon because, like Michael Fulks just said, fluoro, because when you're using fluoro, there's one reason why Michael and myself have switched over. We're mono guys. We're old school. It's about as old as you get. And but they told us that it was invisible. So we're going to put a piece of connection there that's going to be invisible, that's going to take away the fact that it doesn't reflect light when you're cranking your lure. They don't see that piece of monofilament on the front of it. That fluorocarbon is going to reflect the light. And then the other thing is abrasion resistant, especially these lures will be killer, gang, all day. If this year, cold water year, we're going to have barracuda, oh, baby, you better have some abrasion resistant connection there, because a barracuda, you guys, it's hard to imagine a 30-inch fish will eat this thing all the way to the monofilament, all the way to the fluoro.
Swallow it whole.
They'll swallow it whole.
And something that we got to talk about, Michael and Mac, is all these lure companies. Yeah, back in the 40s and 50s, yeah, you caught some barracuda, but everybody was fishing barracuda. The guys were fishing barracuda, selling the barracuda. You know, your dad, your grandpa, they went barracuda fishing because they sold them. You were getting a quarter of fish or 25 cents of fish or whatever. Barracuda was the thing. That's why all these lure companies were making lures. It's for barracuda. Yeah, yellowtail, sea bass, all that was a bycatch. But it was, talk about that for a minute, Mac.
I mean, yeah, the barracuda were everywhere. And that's like, we have some of our smaller jigs we made, and my dad used them for a while, but they would get eaten off. I mean, we have one, it's a 2, and it's only about 2 or 3 inches long. It's small, but it was great for them, but until they end up eating, so swallowing it. So, but yeah, the barracuda were everywhere.
You can't put wire on it. You know, it won't work with wire.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, So I like those little baits, but they do get eaten.
I mean, we use those best like for calicos and stuff, like something that's not gonna, you know, you're not gonna lose it like that. But yeah, the barracuda, I mean, they're a great fight too. I mean, they're fun to catch, but I'd rather be catching the yellowtail or something else. But still, I remember being a kid going with my dad, and they were everywhere.
You just want to catch fish.
Yeah.
I want to go back for a second, Dave. We were talking about floral and versus mono, not versus mono, but some of the differences. And we were at Guadalupe filming, and I got in the water, and we were on the hook, so we're on a slow, drifting, a lot of baits drifting out behind the boat. And I got in the water, and I looked up, and you could just see they look like jail bars, like you're looking out through a cell. There was just all these lines going down behind the boat, and there was all the monofilament. And then you'd get toward the end, and there'd be the top shot of floral, and it would be clear. So all these fish were having to weave through or look up and see all these bars or all these lines of an alien-looking substance of them until you got to the floral, and then it was clear. So a friend of mine fishes straight floral on everything. I mean, he just he spends the money, but he loves fishing straight floral. And you can see it when you're in the water and you look up at the camera. You can see the lines of monofilament until it gets to the tip where there's fluorocarbon. So it's I can see it. The fish can sure as hell see it.
Yeah, it's crazy. Most people won't be in the water to check that out and look at that. That's good information though, to know that for sure. I mean, to get in there and see.
We're all just drifting baits behind the boat, but you get a dozen lines going back there, and it looked like a jail sail of lines. So
in that GT4, I was trying to show a picture, but I can't put it up there. But the GT4 fluorocarbon by Promar, it's clear. And that I'm sorry, I know you guys like pink and purple and orange and all those different colors of fluorocarbon, but for some reason in my fishing brain, I think we're trying to make it invisible. Why do you want to put color in it? Now, my buddy Adam Cargill, who's one of the most spectacular, diverse fishermen on the planet, says the pink works down here in Mexico where the water's super clean, and then the clear works in SoCal where there's a little green tint to it. I don't know. I just think, for me personally, if I'm tying something to my line, I want it to be clear. I want it to be as invisible as I possibly can get it. Yeah. That's why I'm using it. And Michael, that was perfect. You were in the water looking up, and you could see all the bars. It looks like a giant spider web, and then there's that one bait with nothing attached to it. Whammo, that's the one they're going to eat.
Exactly. That's the one that's going to get consumed for sure.
Exactly. And there are multiple colors of monofilament that were being used. So it wasn't just one. It wasn't Andy pink or something. There's all these, and they all reflecting light basically the same.
Mhm.
You know, I couldn't tell the difference in the colors, but they all reflected a light, which created a, you know, a shadow across the surface. So that's what I think. It wasn't so much the color of the line as was that it just, you know, you could see it. It's just,
I mean,
Yeah,
it makes
that's
sense
kinda
because a
what-
lot of people. Go ahead.
That's kind of the reason why I went to the fluorocarbon, was when they told me it was invisible in the water. That's 90% of the reason why I switched over
well,
to
the
it.
guy next year that had it was catching 10 to 1. You went, wait a minute, what are you doing? I remember that trip too. And it was like, oh my God, what is that stuff?
Give
It
me a
was all,
piece
it
of
was
that.
all stiff and weird. It's like, I don't want to use that shit. And he goes, but he was out fishing everybody 10 to 1. He was the only guy in the boat that had fluoro at the time.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense because people use fluoro all the time when you're using light bait. So, I mean, you know, put it with the
Why
jig.
not
I'll
have
give
it
a
hooked to
try.
your lure, right?
Yeah, I mean, I have to give that a shot and think about it. For
Direct
sure.
tie. No swivels.
I only see people do that in like Cedar stuff when they're switching out a bunch of jigs and stuff. But to me, I just tie them. It doesn't take that long to tie a knot. I mean,
Do a double San Diego in about 2 seconds.
yeah.
And you
It
want
might take longer to line up the clip with me. I have to take my glasses off to see the clip. Try to figure out, okay, where is that thing?
Yeah. I think direct tie is the only way to fish them.
Yeah, and my arthritic fingers, when it's cold and you're all wet, and then you got to go push that little swivel to open and close it. I'd rather just tie it.
Tie
Cut it. My teeth cut just like that. The cut up to 80 pound, just like that, and I'm retying immediately. I always thought of those, and I know these guys that fish plastics all day, every day. They love that clip. I just think it's one more thing for the fish to see.
Well,
Right.
I think it has a negative effect on the motion of the bait too. I think that a swivel is not going to allow that bait to swim the way it was built to swim.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't know.
No, I totally believe
All
you.
the subtle things I think make a difference. Small differences.
So, Michael McGowan, your website, I'm throwing it up there, and talk about how these guys can get a hold of these lures. Is there anywhere? I know Michael Folks asked you already. I was trying to produce stuff. Is there anywhere they can go to a store and see this stuff, or is it only straight to consumer on internet?
Right now, it's just straight to consumer on the internet. The goal is to be in some of those shops, and been getting that feedback and stuff from some people where they're at, where they live. I can try to hit some other stuff. I'm going to try to hit somewhere like San Diego. I want to be down by Long Beach and possibly somewhere inland in between to try to give people some stuff. There's some shops, like I said, we've been talking to, but that's like be the nicest way and the easiest way to do it. But right now, like I said, we just wanted to see where we're at, and it'll be a year next month that we've been out there, and I'd like to move on to the next step of it. But right now, it's just been straight direct sales like that through the internet.
And you guys can go over to his website and look at what he's got going on. And he has pictures just like this that shows each color, the lure, the way that's been painted, all the different things. And look at the price point, Michael Folks. That's right there with everybody else. He's not trying to gouge you.
Nope.
He's not trying to gouge you. Makes it a consumer-friendly product game. Are you thinking maybe PCS show next year, maybe have an exhibit there, Michael?
It's kind of harder, I think, with the booths like that, because I think a booth is like $1,500 for the weekend. You'd have to sell a lot of jigs to make it that way. But then again, it might be not a bad idea. Just have them out there, people to see them, make contacts. Could do it that way. I know, talking to Jerry at JRI, he just loads up his tackle shops, or actually go to the show and has deals there for people. You buy 2, get 1 free type thing.
Right.
But I mean, it might be something like that. If I can get into a shop, if not, I could think about that. Something to possibly do, just so people could actually, they want to see them instead of just buying online.
Yeah, if you did that, Mike, it would be really cool if you had some of your old historical, of your grandfather's original jigs. If you have any of those collectibles, having a display of those at the show would be pretty cool for a lot of people to see. And some of these pictures, of your grandfather, that picture, and with his wife in the shop, I think having those blown up in the booth would look great. you know.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. And having the book, having that stuff. There's one jig we have here that's a prototype. It's pretty big, but my dad said fish it catches fish, but there's only one of them, so I'm like, I'm kind of afraid to do it.
Put that in a case.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's Atomic Worm Senior out there it's a big jig, and there's only a few people I know that have it. Somebody hit me up to buy one, but they wanted like $550 for a jig, and I'm like, whoa. I told my dad that. My dad goes, nah, it's okay, they can keep it. It would have been nice. That's the only one I'm missing on the display. I have them behind me. I had them start from the first ones they made all the way up to now. I'm just missing that one jig. So, I mean, if I can get one, or anybody has an Atomic Worm Senior out there, direct message me. Maybe we can work something out. But I just didn't think it was worth that much money to have something. But it would have been cool just to have it in the shop here, just to display it. I never fished it. It was more, they caught a few marlin on it. It was more of like a trolling lure type thing.
Hang on for a second. I want to grab something and see if this is yours.
Okay.
If you ever get a chance, Mike McGowan, to go to Michael Folks' house, that's his garage, or that's his house right there behind him. It's a museum. It is.
It looks like it.
It's insane. I got to go there many, many times, and oh my God, the old stuff from my dad. You know, my dad started out in the industry in 1947. I'm sure my dad knew your grandfather. My dad had the sport fishing boats off the end of the San Clemente Pier back in the 50s and 60s and 70s. And he worked in Newport on all the sport boats. There's my buddy Bob Lorman on here.
There's probably some people that even my dad ran across with your family too. I mean, he's watching this today too. I told him about it, and he was like,
oh, good.
And he goes, Michael Folks is going to be on that show? I said, yeah. He goes, I watched this show. I go, yeah, that's pretty cool. That, you know, the show we used to watch on TV, I'm going to actually be talking to him.
Yeah. So. This is the bait I was thinking about.
That's huge. That's bigger than mine.
It's huge.
Yeah.
It's a phallus, but it's a big jig.
Yeah. Ours is like, I think it's like, oh God, it's 20 some inches long. It's not quite that, but yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That looks probably like more like almost a store display type thing.
This was a whole set of displays that they put out that I thought
that's
was
cool.
Somebody asked earlier about the fluorocarbon. How do you use the wind-on leader?
Yes. Can you get into that, Michael? Because I'm not a wind-on leader guy.
I'm not either. I'm just
Michael Folks is.
I like wind-ons because the bimini's already tied. All I have to do is just run it through and pull it. But I think for surface iron stuff like that, I would just use probably, I wouldn't put any more than 3 feet at the most.
Yeah.
At the most 2.5, 3 feet, because you want to be able to, you know, you don't want the knot going through the guides when you're casting it. So just do the knot, maybe 3-4 feet at the most.
True.
And if you were to go to the GT4 fluorocarbon and look at the wind-on leaders that they make at Promar, on the very back of the package, there's a QR code. You don't even have to buy it. You can just hit the QR code, and then Justin will give you a whole layout of how he uses the wind-on and talks about it. It's pretty amazing that that's available right there on the packaging, which I've never seen anybody do before. So to have a tutorial with Justin Botrell explaining to you how to use it, that's something you might want to check out, Andrew, the Auto Tech. See that, and that'll explain more to you about how to use the wind-on. I don't really think a wind-on's going to come into use that much with lures, but it will come into effect when you're fishing big marlin, or you're fishing that big bluefin, or thresher sharks with Justin. That kind of stuff, there's more of a wind-on, but not what we're talking about today. So that's what I'm thinking anyway.
Different application.
And then the really cool thing, Mac, is the way that Scott highlighted you in the book. Talk about Scott's book for a couple seconds. And that's how you and I got to hook up together.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he did a lot for us. When he approached me and came to the house, actually, and he hit me up and said, hey, can I do it with you? I said, I'd love to. He came in, took some pictures, and got to see some of the moles and stuff. It was cool just to talk with him and to do as many pages as he did for us. I think we have like 10 pages in that book, which was really cool to think that, okay, his whole thing he said with us is like he wanted to just do the family justice, like, you know, make sure he did it right for us. And I loved it. I got a copy from most of my cousins. I bought them because when we did the other jigs, the PMS part, that was Parker McGowan Sowers. That was my dad's best friend who became my uncle. He married my dad's sister, Bill Sowers, and Gary Parker was one of his best friends. They decided to make him back then in the day. Well, my cousins are still a part of this as far as their names and part of the jigs and stuff. But we all have the same grandfather. Once we got the books and showed them, it was cool to actually see, they could see those pictures. I had never seen those pictures of the shop or anything until my dad sent them to me and my uncle. And to put that together for all of us to have something for the history of our family, it was really cool for us because, like I said, we can share that with our kids and our kids' kids. It's in a book from now on. And Scott was just really cool. He really came out and took the time and did it. And I think it came out really good.
Oh, Scott's done a phenomenal job.
He does a lot of research and that stuff. I mean, being that history teacher of him, I think that's what got him to really love the whole part of it. But yeah, he's a really cool guy. I really appreciate everything he's done for us.
Yeah, the book's right there on Michael's Instagram page. If you look, it's called The History of Southern California Surface Iron. And you'll be blown away. The pictures, the lures, everything about this book is like Mac was saying, the history is what it's all about. Just like Michael Folks, the history of sport fishing, the history of our surface irons, and then McGowan, your family being right there in the very beginning, before Taddy, before Salas, before Leonard Straggler, before all these guys, your grandfather was there. That's pretty spectacular to have you with us on the show today.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm just honored to actually get to talk to you guys too. I mean, anytime I can talk to somebody who has an idea of it makes it a lot easier. And it's been cool just to get the name out and stuff. Even when we came back, they really didn't have a logo, so I had somebody help me make the logo. Then I got my dad some of the gear, like you said, he wears it. And
yeah, your logo's awesome. I love it.
Thank you. That's been one of the good feedbacks we've had. It's like something that's worked out really well. It's just trying to get everything now. It's like my dad's been kind of blown away with the whole social media part of it. Is like, how do these people know you? How do they find out about you? It's like before, when he was doing it before, it was like it was in tackle shops, but it was more of a consignment thing. You go in there and drop them off. They call you go pick up a check. You're chasing checks all the time. But now they know how you can actually get stuff done, and it's faster, and people can find you, word of mouth, a picture. I mean, I had a friend of mine that posted a thing, and it got like 700 likes right away. And he was like, how did that many people see something in a few minutes? I go, you get it to the right person, they can get those eyes on it. And that's all it is now. It's the whole social media has changed the whole world. It's
get it to your Saltwater guide, and 800 million people will see it.
Right.
I have a video right now that will blow your dad's mind. It has 73 million views on Instagram alone, and it's just me trying to put some bone marrow on a spoon. So we don't know why. We don't know.
Yeah.
This show right now is going to be probably seen by 20,000 people so far, and it's just going to keep going. And then your family members and everybody can go on. You can go on to Instagram. You can go on to Facebook. You can go on to YouTube. You can go on to TikTok, and your dad can answer the people's comments. It's such a phenomenal way to interact with your fans or people that just want more information about your great product. And I can't thank Scott Mason enough. And what's really cool, gang, if you don't know who Scott is and you missed, he's been on my show twice already. He's going to be our guest with Michael and I next Tuesday. We're going to get way deep into the Mac Lure Company and all the other lure companies and the history of sport fishing. At the end of the day, this is what you're seeing every day when I bring guests on the show and everything. It's all about our history. It's all about our passion. Like bringing Mac on here today was very exciting for me and for Michael because we're learning about even though we think we know stuff, we don't know anything. We learn about our history of our business every time we bring a guest on.
I mean, in life, you can learn something from anybody. I mean, you just come across people and they tell you things and you learn from them. the best way to do it is just meeting people and finding new things out. Like I've come across stuff in this whole journey coming back that I didn't know about. And I got my dad that book, and my mom said he sat there for hours just looking at it. Not so much in our section. He liked that. He thought that was really special. But some of the jigs, he goes, I forgot there was that many companies. I forgot. Then he's going through, like you said, the stragglers, all these different ones that he used to have as a kid and stuff. He's like, I remember all of those. And there's some he didn't even know about and forgot about. It was just a trip down memory lane for him. And I think that's cool that actually you can sit back, you can look at something and put yourself back when you're years ago as a kid. Like, I remember using that. Like, it jogs the memory and it's good for you.
That's why I was asking about the bone jigs, because I grew up fishing the bone jigs, and I just, you know, I'm passionate about them because that was what I started with.
Yeah.
I love your video. I just love it. It's old school. It's got a classic old school look and feel to it. Just did a great job.
Yeah. I'd have to try to get him sometime to come in and do something like this. I think he would love it. He'd just probably talk your ear off. He'd have a great time.
Yep.
We would love to have him as a guest. If you can get out to his house. The thing about, and Michael and I, we've learned this from trying to get other people on here, is guys that are a little bit older than us that we've looked up to, it's this technology thing. It gets them all freaked out. They're not sure if they're going to be able to handle it. But like what you just saw, Mac, it's pretty easy to do. We could walk your dad through this, and he could be on here with us, and it would be awesome. Michael and I would love to sit down and have an hour-long conversation with your father and get to learn more about our industry.
Oh yeah, he knows so much more than I could even start to think about. I mean, it's amazing to see when he gets going and talking about stuff and the history. That's why I'm excited to get him back down in San Gatine with it's with Kelly and all these guys, Katane and them. That my dad used to go down there in the 80s and paint jigs down there with him. And these kids were 3, 5, and I think 10 years old. Well, now those kids run the Pongas. It's George and Oscar and all these guys and Christian. And he's going to go back there and see these kids that were little kids. They're actually running the boats now. They don't remember him. They just heard stories of my dad going down there with Mac and the history of our jigs and stuff. And I went down there last year and gave them stuff to use, and we had a great time. Now I'm going to go back again and actually get to take him down there and reunite with people he hadn't seen in 30 or 40 years, which is exciting for me.
Very cool. Yep.
And he's good to see how things change.
And your dad and Leonard Straggler and Salas and Taddy and all those guys, they had to get out there on the boats, on the half-day boats and on the 3/4-day boats with buckets full of their lures and get out. That was marketing 101 back in those days. And they handed out tons of product, and that was the only way to get your product in front of people. And your grandfather doing what he did, opening up a shop on Pacific Coast Highway, that was like cutting edge back then. A lure company opening a shop? Come on.
Yeah, those guys on the boats, that was their hustle. You had to get out there and hustle and make that money. You had to like promote yourself. There was no internet. There was no any type of thing other than that. It wasn't cell phones. There was nothing. You just had to get out there and do it.
It was about as grassroots of marketing as you could possibly imagine. Gang, if any of this stuff sounds interesting or fun, or you just want to get deeper into it, I put the QR code up on the screen for the history of sport fishing. That is what Michael's 12-part docuseries is all about. What we've been talking about today is just a tiny little scratch of the surface of the history of sport fishing. I would say you need to all go download this docuseries and check it out. Give it to your grandparents. Give it to your kids. Let everybody look at what's going on. Something that, McGowan, we didn't even talk about. Michael and I talk about it because I'm blown away, and Michael knows exactly where I'm going. Because of what's going on in the world right now, you guys all need to understand. DNA, fishing. Our forefathers wrote the Declaration of Independence in the oldest running fishing club in the United States of America. People don't know that. You learn this on the history of sport fishing. Oh, wow. We'll just touch on that for 1 second so that Mike McGowan could understand this, Michael, because this is such a huge part of our history.
It was probably one of the things that I learned that blew me away when we were doing the research on it, that in 1732, on the shores of the Schuylkill River, on a place that's now called Philadelphia. These guys that you may recognize, Benjamin Franklin, who else? George Washington. I mean, all these guys were
John Hancock.
Yeah, and they got together and they formed this club so they could get together and meet and talk about independence and writing the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. They wrote it in the Schuylkill Fishing Club, which they nicknamed the Castle, and it was their secret meeting place, because had they been caught in the open talking about independence, they would have been hung for treason.
Yeah,
our forefathers, the guys that wrote the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, were all fishermen, and they wrote it and they met in a little place called the Schuylkill Fishing Club, which is still in existence today. It's the longest running, continually operative club in the English speaking language, not just a fishing club. So
that's great. That's wow. That's amazing.
And Joel, I think, just posted here a minute ago, throw it like you want to lose it. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to check out that docuseries, Mike McGowan. It is absolutely incredible. You and your father need to watch it from different parts of the United States and compare notes. And your dad's going to be blown away. He's going to go, I had no idea. And I was in the industry, and Grandpa was in the industry, and I didn't even know how important fishing is. And gang, they're on a mission in the United States of America to stop us from fishing, and we cannot let that happen. I need you all to help us to keep fishing open, to understand you and I and Mac and Michael Folks, we cannot affect the population of fish in the ocean with a fishing pole and a piece of line and a hook. And they're just, all it is about control. And you guys are getting fed the biggest bunch of lies. There's no shortage of fish. There isn't. The fish that they want to take away from us and the places they want to stop us from fishing, they're not even commercially fished by these giant factory ships. It's you and me and our kids and our grandkids going fishing. So please, time to wake up and get involved, gang. I try to wake up America and let you understand, if we, the people, get involved, we can stop this madness. Check out the history of sport fishing. Check out Mac's original Mac lures. You've got to check it out, gang. They swim epic. When you touch these and hold them in your hand, you're going to go, oh yeah, now I get it. This is what I want to be throwing at those yellows out there. Look at that. It's that color that everybody talks about, the mint. Check it out. Go over there. Look at his Instagram page. And I want to thank both of you guys. As always, Michael Folks, thanks for being my co-host. And Mike McGowan, thank you for taking time. He took off from work to make sure he made it on this show today. So thank you so
No worries. I hustled home just for this. I had to be here. I couldn't miss this. I didn't want to miss opportunity and to share a few moments with both of you guys. Actually talk to Michael, meet him, and actually get to see you too, David. It was nice. Like yesterday, we were trying to figure out how to do the link on the thing. I was panicking. I didn't think it was going to work. I was freaking out. I go, I better just get home. I'm not going to try to do it on my lunch hour in the truck.
I've been doing this with David for months now, and every time we go to get live, I'm always panicked. Is it going to work? Is the link going to work? So
yeah,
do it over and over again, and there's still that anxiety for me because I don't trust this stuff. It scares me to death. But it's been a pleasure getting to meet you, Michael. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Same here.
Revitalizing your family's tradition and putting out such a phenomenal bait.
Thank you.
I love your granddaughter's looking at a fourth generation.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for the opportunity. I mean, just to be, like I said, I'm just happy to get the chance to do so. This is the first time I've done anything like this. So I was trying not to, like my wife coached me. She said, don't talk too much. Let them talk.
I think you did phenomenal.
You did great, man. You did great. I love it.
Thank you.
Great stuff.
This isn't the last time we're going to have you on here, Mac. I promise you that. You'll be with us again. And gang, just so you know, yesterday was a pretty historic day. Yesterday was our 700th episode. 700 of these podcasts. Pretty amazing. This is 701, Mac, and you're a part of it. Thank you.
That's 700 more than I've done.
Thank you all very, very much. We will keep doing this tomorrow. I'm not sure if Bill Varney's going to be back from his Florida trip. I haven't talked to him yet. But if he's not, I'll put on a good show without him. But if he is, I can't wait to hear what he did in Florida this whole week. Everybody have a great day. Turn off the news. They're all lying. Everything's going to be okay. I promise you. Just turn off the news and go outside and enjoy your day.